We will call this meeting to order. Regular city council meeting, City of Dalhart, Monday, April 11th. First item on the agenda is the prayer. Lord, please bow your heads and follow me in prayer. I ask that you lift us up tonight, Lord, that you help us to make the right decisions, Lord, for our city and our taxpayers. Lord, I ask that you watch over and protect our first responders, Lord, all of our employees and our citizens, Lord. I ask that you bring us some rain. And Lord, I ask that you just remind us, Lord, and ground us as to all the events that took place this week, Lord, over 2,000 years ago, with your crucifixion, Lord, and with your resurrection. Lord, I thank you for our salvation. Lord, I ask that you be with us, each and every one. In the name of Jesus, amen. Amen. Please stand with me and we'll recite the Pledge of Allegiance and the Texas flags. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
First item on the agenda is a consent agenda consisting of the minutes from regular meeting on March 28, 2022, and approval of March financial reports and March bills.
I make a motion, we accept the consent agenda.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number one, public comments. Kevin?
My spot.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
He has a presentation.
Yeah.
Okay. I apologize for that, Kevin.
I'll sit back.
Nobody has comments.
There, he's up in public comment. form.
What is it?
Oh, I apologize.
No problem.
He's
Okay.
on the agenda.
All right. We'll skip to later. Item number two, presentation of recognition certificate for outstanding recycling efforts in 2021. Curtis, if you would come up here, and I'd like to present you with the award, please.
And I think while Curtis is coming up, I will share with the council that they were here last week and gave us the certificate. And among other things that is identified on the certificate is that we are the #1 cardboard handler in the whole Panhandle area, which I think is, and you know, our facility out at the airport, I think it's an impressive achievement for a city our size. And Curtis and his group need to be we need to say thank you, and this is just a small way to show appreciation. And this was given to the city by PRPC was here, as well as a representative of Keep Texas Beautiful, who's also affiliated with Keep Texas Recycling. So it's a great day for Dalhart.
Great. First, on behalf of the city, it's my honor to present to you this award. Greatly appreciate your efforts and your commitment to Dalhart. Very, very, very great. Thank you, Curtis. Item number three, consider and act upon recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission and conduct the first reading of ordinance 2022-04.
I'd make a motion, we open the first reading of ordinance 2022-04.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Zoning board was fine with this trailer going in.
Paul, can you come up here, please?
We're fine with this going in. Been redone and it looks good. This is the second time they brought it to us, so.
Okay.
So
Meets all the criteria and
with all
everything.
the criteria,
It's good to you.
looks very good.
Okay. Questions or comments?
It needs approval.
I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the
Make a motion to close the first reading of ordinance 2022-04.
All in favor? Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 4, consider and act upon providing funding to the Dalhart Youth Basketball League for the purchase of 2 portable adjustable rollaway goals. Initially, Dalhart Youth Basketball had come to us and asked for the funds, and we'd send them to EDC, and we had learned that that doesn't qualify for EDC. But there is a fund that we have set up and that would take care of this, if I understand that right. So
One of the things that we will have them do if council decides to do this is we do need their application on file. And we will need some sort of evaluation of their event in terms of the impact to the hotel motel stay, overnight stays. You know, they have a 2-day tournament, which is going to generate some stays, but we need to find a way to begin to document what that does actually do for the city in terms of the hot tax.
Do we also have the chamber that can track them on the mobile telephone for the day,
We could
for
certainly,
the
ask
air? It's the area that it covers the day and that night.
them. We can certainly ask them.
So we're talking about using the CRP
Yeah,
or hot tax either.
yeah, and I'm not quite sure how it's set up. It's not exactly the way it was described at EDC, but the funding is there.
Yes, I agree. I'd make the motion that we grant Dalhart Youth Basketball the $15,000 for their 2 basketball goals.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 5, presentation by the Dalhart County's Hospital District of the proposed nursing home facility.
I think I messed up because I filled out a form.
Oh, it's fine.
I had to fill out a form to speak, but anyway, there you go. Okay, so I'm here on behalf of the Dalhart County's Hospital District, and I have with me Mark Miller. He's our vice chairman, and Cito Melema is on the board. And we have Paul Rylander, who is from Austin. He represents Rylander Architects, who is the architect firm that we've hired to design a new nursing home. If you recall, about a year ago, we came before council and asked the council to consider a possible lease of some land out near Frank Phillips College for a nursing home. And at that time, we didn't know how much we might need necessarily. We kind of threw the number out of 10 acres and didn't get specific on it because we didn't know for sure where we were going to go. We just wanted to get the approval of the council that we might be able to enter into an agreement on the property. And that was passed. And so between then and now, we have obviously hired an architect. We have hired a construction manager and a environmental consultant. So we're moving along on the project. So we kind of wanted to fill you in today because where we are is we've looked at 2 or 3 different sites out there, including the one that we kind of started with in our minds a year ago, and have determined a plot of land out in that area that maybe suits this facility a little better than where we originally started. Our goal is to get some feedback from you guys and some direction from you as to whether or not you allow us to at least start looking at this property to build on. Our next step will be then to get a survey of it and how, what the details are for a legal agreement between the city and the hospital district for the property. And that's kind of where we are. So if you see on the screen, the white building there is Frank Phillips College. And originally we kind of thought maybe just west of there where it says alternate site would be the location for this. However, we've kind of done some research on it and feel like that if we move a little further south in the area that you see where that footprint is drawn, that's a little more suitable location for us for several reasons. One is it's much more level down on that area and won't require as much dirt work, fill and that sort of thing, which will save the hospital district, thus the taxpayers, some money. And it's also a little more aesthetically pleasing so that residents will have a little better view out their windows, their patios and that sort of thing. This is the proposal here is about a 63,000 square foot building. So it's a big building. It stretches out 600 and some odd feet, right? So 625 feet. So it's 2 football fields long, 90 beds, 17, I guess, Paul, memory care.
Memory care and 74
Private rooms. These are all private rooms. There won't be any shared rooms.
Say something about 4.
Yeah, there's a few there. And I'm gonna let Paul answer any questions that you all may have on this site, but this is kind of the proposed area that we would like to look at. It would require, obviously, for us to put in a paved street or paved road met to city specifications, of course, to it. The yellow line you see there is a proposed easement that would allow for the sewer line to connect into the sewer plant. We understand that there's probably would require a lift station and that sort of thing. So those are some thoughts that we're looking at. Paul, I'll let you, if you want to address any of those items, or if council has any questions so far as you look at this, please feel free to shout them out. Melissa, if you have any questions.
No, I don't, but if you can have Mr. Rylander come up here.
Sure, come on up, Paul. Paul has had the pleasure of meeting with Melissa a couple times, one on the phone and both on the phone, but in a conference situation. And with Greg also with some of these ideas. So she's a little more versed maybe than you all are at this point. So if you have questions, of course, maybe she can answer too.
What we have laid out is, it's a 12-acre site, and the boundaries don't show up as good as I would like, but this would be the boundaries. Can you see that? And the orientation is we're trying to capture the winter sun as much on the courtyards, and then summer sun would come in almost to this direction here. This is 12 acres, allows us to work in detention ponds. And we would build the infrastructure for the road, an extension of the fire line. And I would assume the city would take that over if we built it to y'all standards, is a question.
I will tell you that I've not been here in a position to answer that question, but from a management point of view, typically the city, once it's built and inspected, accepts the improvements and then maintains them in the future.
Is the loop up here a city road?
I do not know.
Not,
That's state road.
no, that goes around
Oh, it was around
the loop.
Raw Road, I think it's called. It's a street they built around
Okay.
Oh, yeah, that is.
I think it is.
This is-
And I think it was done similarly. The Raw campus built the street to city specs, and then the city accepted it and maintains it, or will maintain it, I guess.
That's where we're proposing to tie into instead of the highway.
How many beds currently do we have at our current nursing home?
56, yeah, 56, I believe, Mayor. And this proposal here is for 70, did you say
74.
74, and also has room for expansion for, the future. we're, I'd say almost at capacity right now. As you guys know, the current facility was built in 1960, so it's 60, nearly 65 years old. It will cost as much to renovate that as it would build completely new to meet all the standards that have to be met. Ideally, it would be great to build on campus there with the hospital and everything like we have it now, but as we've researched it, there's just no way we can do what we do with those 56 residents in the meantime is just impossible. So that's the reason we're looking at the alternative site.
I think it's a great location. I mean, it'd be really nice out there.
Where it sits is certainly aesthetically pleasing. I mean, if you were living in the nursing home, it's kind of a nice area.
I have a question, and it's really in regards to, is this to the side of it behind the campus, is that the riding trails? What is the plans to address the riding trails? I mean, personally, I think retirement, or I would want it quiet.
Well, and that it would be a city issue. I mean, as far as the hospital goes, we wouldn't have any plans to address that, but certainly the city ought to consider that down the road, obviously.
And I would agree with that, you know, and they were there first, and I understand that, but you'd have residential coming up around them. And now you have the nursing home. There may be more apartments or homes across the street in the not too distant future. And having that at that site is less desirable now than when it was out away from everything. But I think we would need to find them a new home.
You got to find them another place.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's,
because they lost the lake bottom.
Yeah.
mhm.
And now if they're gonna lose this, it's,
That's
A lot of-
that's only my thoughts on this.
no, but there's a lot of people that
Yeah.
That use it.
use it.
I know, use it.
The way this sits now is really, I've been out there and walked it and looked at it, and it's further away than it looks even on this picture as far as noise and that sort of thing. And a lot of the motorcycle trails are down in that valley, and this is kind of up above, which I don't think there would be much issue there even now with that. But future, it's something city ought to consider, I think, probably.
I think I would want to retire peacefully.
Yeah.
Maybe not have that out my back door.
Yeah.
Well, and some of that can be screened with landscaping and trees and things to minimize that as an initial step.
This is one reason we're obviously trying to move forward as quickly as we can is things aren't getting any cheaper, obviously. And I'm not sure they will ever get any cheaper, but we're already moving along in the process that we're kind of at a point where we can't go any further until we kind of know where this will sit. We can draw and do that sort of thing, but in order for us to really move forward, we now need to kind of have a legal description so we can see where it's going to actually sit.
Kevin, I have a question. As large as this facility is going to be, I assume there's going to be a bond coming up.
We don't anticipate that. There's other financing available. There's some USDA financing that is very attractive. In fact, the legacy was built with USDA funds. They have some crazy 40-year notes at 2% and that sort of thing. There's also some private financing. We've talked some with our local banks, working in cooperation with each other so that everybody has a play in that somewhat. They're very reasonable on their rates, and they will, I think we can put it on a shorter term than 40 years and save. This was $4 or $5 million can be saved, obviously, by going that route. The projections are that this will cash flow itself. Of course, we're nonprofit. We're not looking to make a profit, but we don't want to lose money either, as far as that goes. But the cash flow should be, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but the way the projections are, the cash flow will handle servicing the debt and that sort of thing. Plus, the hospital district is in a much better financial condition today than they were 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And we have some funds that we can put into this as well.
To clarify that, we've had two separate consultants come in and do surveys and tell us that this will cash flow at 64 beds. That's a break even point for us. Since we're at about 64, we're at 56
I think,
right now, I believe. We need 8 more residents for that break even line, which we think by modernizing, by having the single rooms, by having the premier nursing care facility for the elderly in the Panhandle, instead of our people leaving to go somewhere else, we're going to be picking up people from the Panhandle, bring it.
Mhm.
So just to give you the exact numbers there.
So any more than 64 would be even better.
And more would be even better.
Paul's group is an architecture firm out of Austin, and they, one of the things they specialize in are nursing homes, and they've designed and built a lot of nursing facilities. And they're helping us, of course, with those numbers as well. But
I guess I need to ask, are you looking for a commitment, land acquisition now before you can proceed? Or are you going to proceed with the survey and look like that and see if it will work?
well, kind of both, actually. We need that commitment for the land, and then we'll do the survey. We'll get all of our numbers together. We may get to a point out there where we go, this is just not possible. I mean, we can't afford this or whatever. But until we have that commitment for, the property, it's kind of hard to move much forward. Would you agree with that?
So
Tito?
are you looking at the lease or are you looking at purchase?
Well, when we originally came to the council, we talked lease, and and that was actually, I think the motion that was passed that night was to lease the property. That is probably ideally what we would like, a long-term lease. I've discussed it some with Greg, and Greg maybe can talk a little bit better about it than I can. But so used to you had crazy 99-year leases, which you just don't do that anymore, which is understandable. I was telling Greg, I remember, when Cecil Ingram leased the airport, he had a 99-year lease on it, and he made it to about 56 or 7 years on that deal. And, so a more reasonable long-term lease now is about 30 years. Would you say, Greg? Something like that. Anything over 40 years, they consider it a sale. And one reason why we like the lease route is that we didn't want to get in, if you sell it to us, we didn't want to get into a bidding process where there would be other bidders that would be out there, and we might be defeated in it, for one thing. The other thing is too, we're all servicing the same taxpayer. So, however we can make it where it's, less a burden on the taxpayers, the better. So we really weren't thinking about purchasing the land as we were some sort of long-term lease with an annual payment or whatever we need to come up with. And I would say that lease would be 25 or 30 years with renewals somehow built into it.
If that is presented in a 25-year lease, and I might be incorrect in my information, that would require a referendum period of 30 days for the population to approve that. It's in some of the orders that on long-term lease that would that impact you if we had to do that?
I don't think so. I mean, if that's what we have to do, I don't think it would necessarily, I mean, we're trying to expedite it as quickly as we can, but if that's the rule, then I guess we'd have to follow the rule.
Well, I'll have to clarify, and I it was read, but it was in the reading
Yeah.
that on the extended leases, that and why I'm bringing that up at this time, if there is a concern about the usage of the population of the citizens, that, you know, they have the opportunity to contradict that. And I don't know, I mean, it was just in some of the, and I might have misinterpreted it, but.
Well, and Greg would have to be the one to, obviously, I think, build it.
Provision in our charter that speaks to something I think you're referring to.
Yes, sir.
We just need to sit down and talk about that and go from there.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you know, whatever it is, but we would like to move as quickly as we can on it, whatever that restriction might be. We'll have to work around that, obviously.
Might be able to go ahead and proceed, you know.
Yeah, if we had some sort of,
Contingency of.
yeah. We also feel like this does meet somewhat and again, you know, all of that property, I think that out there falls under a public use provision, so to speak, and this fulfills that provision, I believe, as well. So, but you guys have anything to add to? Our CEO is having a baby even as we speak, or she would, oh, she had it already? Okay, well, anyway, she would be here this evening if she wasn't.
I've got a question that's just been presented to me from a few different people. So from the city's aspect, if we're going to start developing some of that stuff out there behind the college, for the city's aspect, if there's a lease versus a purchase, I mean, it'd be better for us to go out to a developer or whatever and build a bunch of high-end homes back there with that view, because it'd be more monetary gain for the city versus a long-term lease, a 25-year lease. And a couple of guys that presented to me said, why don't y'all look at moving that lease to across 281 on the north side? And then if you're going to go in there and open that up for development, then open that up to like a developer that's going to build, you know, something like Canyon View per se. And
If that's even eligible under the public use provision, I don't know. You know, when the federal government turned that land over to the city, it all fell under a public use provision, that nothing could be put out there unless it was for public use. And so I don't know. There had to be research. I don't know if you could even sell it to a private developer for development. And how you get it released to do that. There's a process involved in that, I'm sure. You know, we didn't look on the other side of 281 because basically we kind of thought that was more attractive to the city for development than even this. So you know,
it was just a question that was presented, so I figured out that.
Yeah, well, and I don't have that answer completely. I just, and I think Greg would have to answer that for you on what that property can be used for and can. I know it can be used for this project, but I don't know about private development if it can or can't.
I think that what Parker's relating to, that the council is looking at alternatives of liquidating city property for housing development. And
right.
That's where that consideration is coming up, that we need to be looking at venues in relationship to that. if I might be speaking incorrectly, but that was what I was thinking on it also. And dropping it down area does open up possibly residential up more to the north.
Mhm. Well, and that is true. If you can even sell it to a developer for the housing development, it's probably even more attractive on that for housing on that alternative site right off of 281 than down where this is. But
It would probably fall under some of the federal guidelines in relationship to affordable housing and that sort of thing, if you pursue it. That's the venue. I don't know the venue that you're talking about, but it's just a ramification of it. I believe we're considering it. It's just a consideration out there, I think.
well, and again, I mean, I hate to say we're trying to obviously save the taxpayers some money by not having to pay the city a premium for that property. And you just have to look at if you sold it, it might monetarily be better for the city. But like I say, it's the same taxpayer that's paying the city or paying the hospital district. It's the same dollars are going to be coming out of the same pockets.
It's my consideration, proceed on it the best that we can, as long as we don't cause a issue in the past, because I think it's a very advantageous thing that we need to do. Just need to do it correctly. And
So do you need to, I guess, research if it is a lease, if you elect to do a lease, if it's a lease, the research on the number of days. In other words, I just got to tell these guys when we can start, when we can get the surveyor in to do whatever. And so I don't know what that takes, but you guys can tell me.
Basically, we're at a standpoint where, do you want to tell us or do we want to tell you?
Yeah, well, okay.
And that's the thing. If you go out and my marching orders are, we need to go out and see where the public purpose provisions are for sure, so that we know where they're at.
Yeah.
And then we also decide, are we going to do a lease or are we going to do a transfer? Because there are some issues there that we're going to have to deal with.
Do you remember, Greg, or anybody on the council, what the agreement was with Frank Phillips?
No, but let me. Up here are some apartments.
Right.
And those apartments were built, what, 10 years ago?
I think longer than that, maybe.
15 years ago.
I was on council when they sold that land.
And I mean, the closest that we could come to basically is we talked about what we have here as far as a transfer / lease, and then what was the purchase price.
Mhm.
And we know, or at least I think we know what those answers are. But if I know for sure this is what the hospital district wants to do, as far as a transfer or a lease, what are the terms they're proposing and those types of things. And I think we've got our marching orders and then they have to decide.
Okay. Well, I think we would prefer a lease, whatever it can be, the longest it can be, 25 or 30 years without being considered a sale. We would prefer a lease. And, that dollar amount, I could say $1 a year, but I don't think the council's going to go for $1 a year. But something reasonable. I mean, and again, I think if we could find out, and I should have maybe done some homework on what the agreement was with Frank Phillips, that I know they didn't purchase that land. And if they've got a lease set up already on that, then I think it would be equitable somewhat to what, because they are a taxing entity as well.
that shifting over to the educational group, would have an impact upon how that was handled, since it's basically owned by?
It is owned by the Dalhart Education Foundation. Yes. Yes.
So in theory, Frank Phillips doesn't own it.
No, they do not. Right.
So it's kind of a different.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it not be a?
Yeah, and again, it doesn't matter who it was, Frank Phillips or Dalhart Education Foundation, however that was transferred. I know they didn't purchase that land, so it's either transferred in the form of a lease on it, or it was just transferred with a deed, and the city said, here you go, have it.
I don't know if it would be the same thing as transferring it to the EDC for control. I mean, that was another process, of land transfer, you know, and I don't know all of that.
Yeah.
Transacted, it's just an answer to that.
You want to make us an offer?
Yes, we do. Cito, what do you think?
The 25 or the 30 years that we can do and do a lease. I think that would behoove all the taxpayers the best. It would move this thing forward so we can get off a high center. And, you know, and if we find issues down the road, or Craig uncovers something that's, listen, we can't do this, or we can, you know, at least we can always change it. We need to move forward so we can get these guys on board and estimate the rest of our cost out between the road, lift station, dirt work, that kind of stuff. I mean, we're not going to be building tomorrow, but it's going to take significant. What do you estimate the time would take before we get to a point of no return?
For breaking ground, you know, we're probably a good 3 to 4 months out to break ground.
So we're on the boat. Let's get off of
The
it.
are you looking for a monetary figure for me to mention? You know, I'm throwing out there $1,500 a year. And I don't know. I'm just throwing that out. That sounds very cheap, but like I say, it's the same taxpayer that's paying it one way or the other. That's what I would.
We're releasing airport.
Depends on how big your area is. I think it's $3,000 for anything up over 2 acres and anything down to less than that.
Okay.
It's 12 acres.
14.
14.
I was just wondering. I thought it was for paying a lease. But it comes with a structure.
Well, and again,
Does not come with a construction.
that's private enterprise as opposed to, you know, the taxpayers.
Okay.
So would you like for us to put on the future agenda as soon as possible, request to drop a lease and go into the agreement and go through the procedure? Is that what you're basically?
Yes.
Right now?
Yes.
Thank you.
Anybody got any feedback on that? I mean, really, I don't want to sound like a cheapskate out there by any means, but at the same time, I'm just trying to, you know, we got to come up with a number one way or the other. And if you guys have a number that we can start with that's different than that, then we'll start there.
I think what you're doing is great for the community. I think we just need to make that decision of what, if we do lease it, what a good lease price would be.
Yeah.
That is prime property too.
Yeah. And I get it. Yeah, it is.
I like what you're doing.
It absolutely is needed.
Yes.
It's well, yes, it is definitely needed. And our issue is, you know, if we don't do something, you know, we'll end up closing it, having to close it, and we won't have a nursing home here, and then we'll have 56 residents that are gone, and whoever's family is involved will be gone too as well, probably. But it's something that obviously is part of our mission statement as a hospital district to provide for the constituents, taxpayers. That's what we.
And with this going, the motorcycle track does need to be addressed.
Absolutely, it does.
That will be a big.
It will be. I have to tell you. Yeah.
I have already put it on the new city manager's list.
That will have to.
The new city manager is all for him, he or she, whoever she may be.
I know, but
I heard about it just a week ago.
Yeah, that was a pretty tough deal. So I understand. Yeah, it's an issue that touches a lot of emotions there. So
After you break ground, how long do you anticipate before it's ready to move in? I mean, I know with today's availability for,
Smithers, Merchant Builders, they'll build that facility within about 15 to 18 months.
Okay.
We shoot for 15, soon to get in.
Sure.
It's, what I like about that particular site is it's most level part of the site. And obviously the view is good. The infrastructure of road and possibly lift station for other uses, that may happen out there would be to a benefit of the city. So.
So our request would be that you consider this 12-acre plot of land with as long a term lease as we can go, 25 to 30 years, whatever you feel comfortable with maybe some additional terms at the end of that, options at the end of that lease. And then whatever reasonable number we can come up with monetarily wise. There may be a rule out there, I don't know, on a minimum lease that the city can even accept. I don't know. But if that's the case, then we'd want to go the minimum if we could, obviously. So that's that's our request. So I would say if that's what council agrees to do, then we would need to be on an agenda item, probably at the earliest meeting we could after you've come up with that, so that we can move forward from there. So what you guys think? Any other questions for Paul? He came all the way from Austin to do this.
I'm a sailor, so.
We walked out on that this afternoon a little bit. Paul was here a little bit early, so we just went out to kind of get a feel for it. The wind's blowing pretty good right out of the southwest, which is kind of the way this will face. And I said, Paul, this is the way it's going to be every day, nearly. Not every day, but most of our days. And there's just not, it's going to be that way anywhere you go in our community probably. But they also have a design built kind of, for some of that wind to be broken. So it's not just right in your face all the time.
I might like to interject. Does council have enough information to proceed on this, or do you need more information from them in relationship so that we can expedite it?
I think we have sufficient.
Okay.
thank you.
Okay. Thank you all very
Kevin,
much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
I want to walk out with him because he's going to try to get back to Austin. In Emerald this evening. So,
Thanks for coming.
thank you.
Item number 6, report concerning the Dalhart Economic Development Corporation, April 5th, 2022 meeting covering the Economic Development Director, TEEX EDLL proposal and the retail coach proposal. Please. Yes.
Mayor and council, I think that I shared with you in one of my reports that I thought that the meeting last week with Dalhart DDC was a really good meeting. The group that you have on the EDC right now is very intent on moving everything forward. And I think that that's very exciting. One of the things, though, that they have just been discussing for years, but has come to fruition since January, was they asked that we put together a job description for an economic development director and do some research on compensation. And we had completed that job description and we completed the work on the compensation and presented that to the EDC last week. And the EDC wants to move forward with advertising for the position. I think that they are committed to filling the position. We talked about where we would house them, who they would report to, how this would work. And the reason this is on the agenda tonight is to talk a little bit about the position and answer any questions, because since it's a new position and it will be a city employee, you all will have to authorize that position and we will have to bring that back to you. The good news is that we don't have to worry about a budget. We have to worry about a budget, but there is money in the EDC for this purpose. And so it makes it somewhat easier, but it's still going to be an expense. So I put this on here for the sole purpose of letting you discuss it if you'd like to, and then answer any questions that you might have. And then hopefully get direction to bring it back for action at the next council meeting.
Was at that meeting. It was a great meeting and I see the need for the EDC director. Because that's gonna be bringing more retail into Dalhart and all that, going to all those conventions representing Dalhart.
I think what was interesting is when I was doing the research on position descriptions and compensation, how many cities of similar size and even smaller size that have a 4B corporation, which is what we have full-time economic development directors and have had them in some cases for 15 and 20 years. So we are in some ways a little bit behind the curve. In other ways, it's a new adventure and it really is a great opportunity, a great time to be planning. And so yeah, I think it's a win for the city if you decide to go that route.
And there has been spoken of employing more individuals, and in relationship to the EDC director, there is no cost to the city.
That's correct.
Funding at all.
At all.
And services may increase that the EDC has to pay
Yes,
for the services that the city renders, correct?
that is correct.
And so it is one of those situations, it is not a financial hardship to the city. It does not take away from city funding and budgeting.
Yes, sir. That is correct. And in fact, it has the potential of adding to revenues for the city in many other ways that we don't have right now.
I believe the benefits of this position are very advantageous to the city, and we need to proceed any way that we can to facilitate that.
I'm a big fan of the EDC director. That person will know what those economic development rules are. They will know what land is available. That's kind of their job description, is to bring in retail, bring in businesses, and it's their job to know that. When you have somebody who's on the EDC board who has a full-time job or owns a business, and I mean, we don't always have time to devote to that. So
Does the EDC find this person? They will find the director, or does
I'm sorry, they will what?
will they go find,
Well, we'll advertise.
the
and
city will
The
advertise
city
for
will
it?
advertise. It ultimately is a city position.
Okay.
But the way that it reports to the city manager per the charter.
Uh-huh.
But the way that it's set up is that the working relationship that the city has with the EDC will be strengthened through this position. And they'll work really for the EDC, but the manager still is sort of over them. It's a fine balance sometimes.
But the EDC will vet them and help.
Yes.
They will pick
Yes,
them,
yes,
basically.
yes,
That's
yes.
what I'm
I'm
asking.
sorry, I
Yes.
misinterpreted what you said.
Just need our approval.
Yeah, and because it's ready to go out, and I didn't put it on for action tonight because I didn't want to presume that you would be supportive of it, though I'd heard individually from a few of you. And what I would like to do is put it on the agenda for the 25th for specific action. And in the meantime, package it up and get it ready to send out. There's still some work that needs to be done in terms of where to place it and all of those things. They still need to be done.
It sounds like a no-brainer for us.
And I'd like to interject, they also discussed in relationship to that position is housing, if I'm not correct.
They did discuss housing is.
In relationship to the EDC, that
Yes.
their involvement in affordable housing
Yes.
situation.
EDC recognizes that housing is an issue, and I think that they would be a good partner to take it up with.
And that's a bonus to
Yeah.
that position also, in my opinion. So,
Yes, I would agree with that.
I'd like you to put it on the agenda.
Okay, terrific.
Do we need to vote on that or just?
It's just on.
It's a recommendation.
It's just a recommendation. tonight, Councilman. So there were two other things that the EDC did Tuesday night, which I thought that I would share with you. One of them was through Councilman Sherry. We had solicited a proposal from TEEX, which is through A&M, as the Texas Extension Service out of A&M, and they have a certification for economic development. While we're not proposing the certification be brought here, because that would be a long time and very expensive. We are proposing to, we have proposed to the EDC that we bring in the economic development for local leaders. And the argument was, is that everything the EDC recommends, council has to approve. And it only makes sense that if they know the details of how this works and what all of the opportunities are, and what the terms are, basically where we're going, it made sense to give you some of those same tools. And so we had received a proposal from TEEX. EDC acted on it. They want to do it, but because of planting, which you mentioned earlier, I didn't realize May was that month for that. They want to put it off until late September, early October. And so she has marked out September, and I just need to let the EDC know that. That is going to be hopefully a cost sharing program to bring her in and her team. It's just under $10,000. And with the council attending, with inviting the EDC attending, inviting the county judges to attend. We had someone from Text Line that wanted, we could make it available to area cities. We could fill up the class of 25 and minimize the class of participants. The other thing I'd mentioned, going back to the EDC director, and I didn't think to mention it, when Councilman Sherry was talking about all the things that this person is going to do in terms of all the demographics and the land inventories and the policies that have to be in place. If you look at Dumas and you look at their Economic Development Corporation, they really have set the bar in what ours needs to look like to compete with them. And they're basically next door. And that's where we need to go if we're going to be successful, if not more. And so the TEEX program will be coming this fall, and we don't have a date yet, but I just want to let you know about it. And then the final thing we talked about was the retail coach proposal. If you'll remember the last council meeting, you zoomed in with the retail coach. We took it to the EDC. I will share with you, I was frankly surprised it was received so well, and that they want to go through with the program, but they want to do it in parallel with the hiring of their EDC director. So about the time the EDC director comes on board, then they're ready to gear up with the retail coach, and which makes perfect sense. And so the EDC director can get started on the retail coach program, but they also can begin the other aspects of the position that are required. So I thought that was very exciting.
Good.
And so that's really all I have, Mayor. I don't know, Councilman Sherry, do you want to add anything? Mayor, I don't know if you want to add anything.
I mean, I feel like if we had had an EDC director at the time when we first hired the retail coach, things might have went a lot differently.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
Anything else? Item number 7, discussion and consideration of directing staff to initiate the city's bid process for construction of the Rio Blanco Lake Hillmar Amphitheater.
The item is on the agenda this evening because at the Lake Board meeting last week, they finalized and approved the drawings that were presented and the concept that was presented. And in your packet is a mock-up of a color version of what it might look like, as well as the specifications, as well as the project manual. And what we're looking for is direction to put this out to bid. This has to go through the city's process because the city has fronting the money for this. If you'll remember the agreement that you went into a few months ago about doing that. So it has to go through our process, and it is ready. It is basically ready to go. The engineer is still fine. He's just tweaking that manual a little bit. And the manual is important because that's all the written specifications, the bid document, the contracts. And I had them go back and put in all the things that a municipality has to include in bid documents about the different state laws that we have to follow and the statements we have to include in those documents. But in all practical purposes, it's ready to go. And if council will direct me to do so, I will get that out for bid.
Sounds good to me.
I make a motion that you take that out.
I'm sorry?
I would motion to direct you to get that done.
I think it's going to be a beautiful project.
That's second that.
Speak up, Judge.
Do we need a motion?
Just
It's just
consideration.
direct,
Discussion.
but
So
Just give me direction.
Direction.
please proceed.
Because
All in favor?
we'll bring it back to council to award when it's ready.
How many
Yeah.
people is that gonna sit?
We were talking, I believe the number was 150, is that right? 150 people under the canopy. And then there's seating outside of the canopy too, which it depends on how much they bill based on the prices they get. But it could seat another, I'm sorry, sir?
It's not under, the seating is not under the canopy. They were supposed to change that where it was not. under the canopy.
under the.
Okay,
So it's basically designed that the stage area is covered,
okay.
then the whole, and they also had the consideration of not messing the view up, that you can view it from anywhere out that way. So that was in the design.
Okay.
So
Well, let me just check everything, make sure that that's what's reflected.
that was
the
my
picture.
understanding.
Okay.
of the Discussion.
Okay, let me
What the
just
pictures
double
show.
check that.
I think we need to move on it as soon as possible.
Okay.
Let's get it done.
Okay,
City Council will now convene into executive session under Texas Local Government Code 551.074 for the discussion of the process to hire a city manager for the city of Dalhart.
We come back.
The time is 6:55 PM.
So we have the XIT
Where's
Rangers.
it at on the agenda?
I don't see.
I don't have the XIT Rangers on here.
It was,
It was in your report, but it was something to discuss in the future.
Yeah, I think I said I had to do some research on it,
Yeah.
Okay,
and I just,
yeah, they're here this evening.
Yeah, they're
So
here
do we
for-
need to direct them?
oh, so when we talked about that, I was going to put it in next year's budget because the expenditure is for next year. And I have done that. You also asked about free water.
Yeah.
And I actually tracked that down today. And the other grounds they were getting free water to wet down the arena only. But they had meters for their potable water. That free water goes away with the affluent line, so they'll get that free. I've also asked the engineer, or the public works, to look and see what it would take to build an affluent line to your arena so that you would have access to it as well. I just don't have an answer on that yet.
And so that's the biggest issue with the Rangers.
Yes, please do come up. Thank you.
Okay. So, I mean, we're nonprofit. We're not asking the city for a lot of anything, you know. And it's hard to get the public behind us too. So I gave y'all a couple letters to read.
You need to come out of.
Yeah.
Okay.
The council is reconvening from executive session at 6:57 PM.
Can I see the letter?
No action was taken.
If you want to hear that, y'all can come back in.
I think you should fill out a form before you leave, since you talked. Then we'll be legal.
Okay.
So, did you take us out of the
Yeah.
executive session?
Okay.
So when we go ahead, okay, so the first one that I gave y'all was a bill that we had posted in 2019 about Amy Wines. She's a young girl that participated out at the Rangers. She's not the only young lady that started out there. She's not the only young child that started out there. Our whole facility rotates around our children and stuff, everything we do. We don't put on a big rodeo. Don't deny that one bit. You know, we put on 6 play days a year. At the end of the year, we keep the, everything we do is timed events. So we keep their time. At the end of the year, we have 5 different age groups. There's 5 awards that goes out to each age group. We don't ask, you know, we ask for some help, you know, some donations and stuff. And we do have some people that back us and help us and stuff. But our biggest issue is water. We have a water bill that's going to be coming up pretty soon because and it's going to be an issue for us to get it paid. We're going to get it paid one way or another, but it's really important
to water the arena. It's really important to work this arena. We don't want a hard pan in it. If there's a hard pan in it, one of these young children, 13, 14-year-old kids come around a barrel at 25 miles an hour, the horse is gonna come out from under them. And we don't want that, you know? And I say, water is our biggest issue. And we would love to get the city behind us on this issue. And I mean, we keep our arena open year round. We work our arena year round. The big arena, when the XIT rodeo is over with, I don't know how many knows it or not, but it's locked up. You cannot use that arena. Now, why, I don't know, but at any rate, so at any given time throughout the winter, we have pretty days. And you know, any of those guys here, we have young ones that are out there practicing. We even have older people out practicing. And we strive real hard to try to keep a nice arena. And the main thing is to keep a safe arena. We have not had a child hurt because of a bad arena. And we want to keep it that way. But water is becoming an issue. Mother Nature's not helping us at all, you know, and I mean, I just like to get the city behind us on the water issue. I think it's important for us to keep our facilities open so that these kids will have a place to go. And it's not just the kids, we invite everybody. It's, you know, it's for anybody who wants to come out and practice and stuff. And it's not the world's greatest facility, but we're working on it. You know, we're doing everything in our power to keep it going and do what needs to be.
We need to put on the agenda then to discuss.
We really need to put that on the agenda. I mean, there's really two things. There's the immediate need and how much that is going into the future. And then there is the secondary issue of how do we address the future? And that is, it's better to do it with the affluent if we can get a line over there.
Yeah.
But that's going to take a little time to get to because we'd have to do the engineering and, you know, it just takes a little time. It's only about 200 people.
Yeah, it's not far, but I do know that they have, as of right now, they have put a fire hydrant, which the affluent water will be coming to at their entrance. And we have a water truck. I don't have an issue driving the water truck, you know, over there and filling it, you know, and stuff.
Can I just ask my public works question?
Yeah.
So Dennis, when this gentleman talks about a fire hydrant for affluent, is that what we're doing to get it to that site?
I got a hold of Adolfo this afternoon. And yeah, there is a effluent, it's not a fire hydrant per se.
Oh, okay.
It looks like a fire hydrant, but
Okay.
that's what it's for. So they won't use that fire
We
hydrant.
won't use the real fire hydrant, the potable water pipe.
I talked to Adolfo, he's gonna look at
This
getting
is,
a line to stick to them, so it's gonna be a change order on that project.
yeah,
So
but he'll let us know.
he's gonna let us know, he's already gonna start on it tomorrow.
So we
We'll
really,
probably have something close to you guys.
Yeah.
Where you just get your truck and just hook up to it.
Yeah.
And it'll be close to your house property. That's
so
what he's gonna try to
longer
do.
term is in the works. It's a shorter term issue, because it could be 3 to 5 months before that would be in play.
Yeah.
Is that a fair?
That's probably about right, yeah.
Okay.
But can they get the hydrant that is affluent now from this point on? I don't believe it's.
We need a decision.
It's
Not live yet,
Or is it?
You just need to tell me, direct me to bring it back. And-
Okay, because we're not supposed to act on, talk about it.
Right,
now.
yeah.
So.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah.
But I do want to let you know that we did follow up on the water.
Yes,
And the young lady that was in,
Madison.
yeah, of course, what's your name?
Yes.
I put it in the budget, so you have it for next year's, expenditure for next year's budget, so I've already put it in the file.
Yeah, okay. So we'd just like to thank you guys, you know, and stuff, and we really want to keep it going, but you know, the water's the issue, and it may get to the point where we have to close the arena, you know, to the public and to the kids because of safety reasons.
Just out of curiosity, you approached the SIT folks about using their arena and they just don't want it to be used?
Well, they rent it, they would rent it to us, you know, so. But the biggest issue is the kids have no place to go to practice.
I see.
So we have barrels at the arena, we have the poles at the arena, so at any given time, they can go out and set the barrels up, run their patterns, practice a little bit. And just like this young lady here, you know, what a great honor that was that night to be at the big rodeo, you know, and to hear her name. And she won it, you know, she beat all the pro girls. Now, what an honor that is to be a part of her, you know, and she's not the only one, you know, but we're just a starting place for them to learn, you know, then they move up and go off and win big rodeos, you know, so how proud of, I mean, and they're from Dalhart, you know, so it's something for not just us to hold our heads up, but everybody here, you know, and so, I mean, I was there that night and I'm not gonna lie, it brought tears to my eyes, guys, just because it was a great honor to know that we was a part of her getting where she was at today. So, but anyway. I mean, I don't know.
Thank you. Thank you. What you guys do?
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
This to you.
We get it in here.
You did, want to go?
You did, okay.
She'll put it on.
Okay. This will help you.
We can do that.
And now we go into executive session.
Yes. Somebody was asking me something. I'm sorry.
That was, you had already been directed to put that on, I guess. Or-
No, I was directed to look at the water issue and to look at the request for next year's budget. I don't remember talking about putting it on the agenda, Councilman.
Do we not need to now?
No, you were gonna do some research.
Okay. that's what I thought.
Okay.
That's when they showed up. Like,
Well, I thought it was. I thought it was on the agenda too, and I looked.
Okay, well, that's good. Let's keep going.
Okay.
Gotta go back in.
City council will now convene into executive session under Texas Local Government Code 551.074 for the discussion of the process to hire a city manager for the city of Dalhart. Time is 7:06 PM.
Feels wonderful.
Feels good in here.
It does. Feels really good.
Feels good to us.
One day, one day, we'll be there.
City Council is reconvening from executive session at 8:44 PM. No action was taken. Item number 9, discussion of future agenda items for City Council.
Did you get the two we were talking about, Melissa, about the XIT Rangers and there was something else?
Lease for the hospital.
There you go.
Yeah, I think we have the lease for the hospital, and you do want to put the Rangers on?
I don't think we do we?
Did we need to
I don't think
talk?
we
We did not
didn't
need to. I mean, I don't,
I thought
You
we
were
were
gonna
talking
open
about
up
doing something
conversation about
between
that.
now and budget.
Availability of
from
the water situation.
and Dennis said that he was gonna try to
Right, and then.
take care of that.
And then out of the corner of my ear, I heard someone say, can they use the other tap that we put in for the effluent? And Dennis says he thinks it's at a position where they could take their water truck over there and use that. So we
Yes.
would not need to do anything else, just make sure they have access to it.
Scratch that,
I would just say that
scratch that one.
report your final idea. Just tell us if
Okay.
in your manager comment section. Is that okay?
Weekly report.
I was looking right here.
Oh, what mess. This one, yes.
Yes, I will be happy to put it in my weekly report.
Perfect. I love reading this.
Are you being facetious?
No,
You're very
I take a
informed.
break. I just stop.
Just check.
I just stop and take a break.
I don't want to be vomiting too many words.
I knew that was coming.
That's our new term.
One other thing, Wendy had received a complaint about buses and vehicles speeding up and down. Is it Sandhurst?
Sandhurst.
And complainant was wondering if the speed limit could be changed. And I think Eloy, did you
Sorry, I did.
search on that?
I went back to 2020 to today. There was only one citation written for speeding on Sandhurst. Now, I do know that there has been a handful of calls of reckless driving down Sandhurst or in that area. But as far as speeding, most of the speed that we catch is there on 16th where that school zone is, where it intersects. It hasn't been a huge issue. Honestly, I think people just don't call. This might be the first time that somebody actually took issue with it and said something. Because you run into that a lot. We'll go over there for a call and we'll talk to neighbors or whatever, and they say, well, we just didn't want to bother you with it. Unless you get that one older couple or whoever that says, well, there's a lot of kids that walk up and down this street. That's whenever they usually take issue. So I'm assuming, I don't know what the complaint was, but that's not out of the ordinary.
The complaint was buses and vehicles speeding up and down during school drop off and pickup due
Now-
to congestion of traffic on 16th.
Buses have been a little bit of an issue. We were having buses and other civilian vehicles cut through the parking lot at La Española. So I had my guys go do some enforcement there, and one of my guys actually knocked down a school bus for doing that. So I'm actually not surprised that there is a complaint about the school buses.
So can we maybe shift a officer to
Yeah.
just for a few days
Yes, sir.
to show our presence over there? And
Again, I will have Sergeant Gonzalez do that tomorrow. Sit on Sandhurst and see if he can catch anything.
at this point, I don't think we need to change the speed limit unless any of you guys, I think if we could,
It's a residential area, so it's 30 miles an hour, whether it's posted or not. So like I said, over the years in patrol, I don't think I had very many issues there. But for the exception of reckless driver calls on occasion.
If they're trying to get around the mess of the school, because that's a mess of
it is.
It is, because it backs up all that traffic going into the backside, the 16th side of the elementary. It backs up all the way to the alley right before Hanbury's house. And some people try to get around it. I know that some of the guys have pulled vehicles over for doing that because they're driving in the turning lane. So it does get pretty bad. So I bet she's right that they're using Sandhurst and Tascosa to get around all that.
Well, I don't think we need to put it on the future agenda. If we can just maybe have some presence there.
Yes, sir.
for the next couple of days.
We can do that.
So I'm not totally familiar with the area, but is there any road improvements that can be made to help manage the congestion? I'm not familiar with, I know where 16th Street is and I know, where the elementary school is, but I'm not seeing it in my
It
mind.
doesn't dump out, it turns, comes back.
It's just a bad spot. You got
It's just a
traffic
bad
from the grocery
place.
store coming in and out.
Okay, so there's really nothing we can do, we don't think?
It's for an hour a day usually.
Yeah, the mornings aren't so bad. It's the afternoon. It's the afternoon that gets really congested there.
Can you make a one-way, like in that specific time, can you make it the one direction?
Yeah, I was
Like
thinking, in can you do that?
Kind of already is, isn't it?
Yeah,
Is it?
pretty much. I mean, yeah, it's,
School traffic it is.
yeah.
So,
The people in the housing edition, that's.
yeah, or me going to the bank or.
Okay, well, I just was wondering if there's something we could do, if we needed to have someone take a look at it and work with the school.
Maybe.
Well, could you change it to a school zone there for the hours of, that, what is it, 3:30 to whatever, since it's.
It actually goes, I think the school zone comes on, the lights come on at like 2:30 and they don't shut off until almost 4, if not 4.
It's actually like 4:30.
Something like that. Yeah, the school zone lights are on for a long time. Not so much in the morning, but in the afternoon, they stay on. And we've gotten tickets where we've given people tickets for that school zone and they argue, well, school wasn't active. Doesn't matter. School zone is in effect. So school zone speed is in effect. So it might work. I think it's going to depend on just enforcement there to see if we can get somebody to knock down a few cars, educate some folks. Maybe not necessarily start writing them tickets, but let them know it's 30. There's kids around here. Try and tone it down. So we can try that.
The buses from going down through there. I don't think the buses should be going down through there.
I don't think so either because they come out. They come out from the front of the elementary. I don't understand why,
The buses.
for what reason they would need to.
It might be the white buses.
I'm
Transport.
It might be, yeah.
I think so.
okay.
They.
I bet it is.
Okay.
I do know
All right.
they're breaking the law, but they're pretty quick at what they're doing. They're trying to get their job done.
We'll keep an eye on it.
Well, thank you, Lloyd, for doing the research.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
There's other streets.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't think we need to mention them all, do we? It depends on who's driving down the street.
Slow down. Any other discussion of future agenda items? Item number 10, comments from city manager and department heads.
I don't have a discussion for a future agenda item, but I did want to let you know that in my weekly report, I talked about a work session is needed to talk about goals and objectives as we start really preparing the budget. We can do the base budget, but that's a continuation of both services. Anything over and above that to meet council's goals or anything you want us to take a look at, it's outside of some of the things we've already talked about. It might be good to have that conversation. We could do it on the 25th if you wanted to, as opposed, you're going to have special meetings a lot coming up. So if we could do it at the council meeting on the 25th, if you want. I also want to talk with you about the police compensation issue. And I'll be bringing forward hopefully the human resources director position. I'm not sure I'm going to be ready on the CDLs because I need some additional information and I know staff's working on it. But if they are ready, then we'll want to bring that forward. So I have several items I would just really need your input on.
Well, I think we definitely need the workshop to discuss all those.
Is there an opportunity to start it at like 5 and then have the regular meeting at 6 or start at 4:30 for a work session and then the regular meeting at 6? That way it's not an additional day, but I know that eats into your work day.
For myself, it's not an issue, but I know for some of the other people,
It might
it very well
be.
could
Okay.
be.
You're talking about April 25th.
Yes, sir.
I won't be here that day.
Not an issue for me either.
Not an issue for
I'm
me.
good.
So we could do
We
that.
can do that.
Brian's good.
I'm good, bless you.
I'm always about, I should do
So it basically, Parker, I think you're the only one I haven't heard from.
Yeah, we'll see.
That
is a ways out. You never
know.
So I will put those items on
4:30,
the
4:30.
agenda, and if we could start at 4:30. And we'll just do a work session, we won't necessarily even have the TV cameras on or anything, and we'll just, like we did before, we'll have a regular meeting at 6. And that'd be great. I appreciate it.
I like it.
You too.
Anything else, Melissa?
There's something else on here about ginger.
Yes, there is something about ginger on there.
Yes, and I hate to do this because I know it comes on the heels of, rewarding our city tries to do the best job that they can. And I do know some of the complaints are about the landfill, the debris blowing out. And I go by it all the time. And so I do see it. So I know there's issues regarding this, and it's coming across the highway and it's lining down Mackey Road. And I know we deal with winds here. So I know that was not, the person that brought this up and addressed this said, they were very, very polite about it. But one of their biggest concerns was that they have animals, and plastic bags tend to be the biggest issue. And so when these blow out their livestock consumes these plastic bags. And I mean, I see it, and I don't really know what the answer to this is going to be, but it's something we should have done.
Yeah, and I'm sorry.
As having worked out there before, when I was employed at the city, I ran the packer. And when the winds are blowing really, really bad, it's hard to maintain and get that trash in the pit. And they cover it. Most time they cover in the evenings, but they'll cover that. They'll put dirt on it, try to get it covered and stop. They have the big nets that they put up. Do they still use those out there, Dennis?
As far as I'm aware.
But that wind just blows and starts.
And
When I was there, we did go out and we did go across the street and highway and we picked up trash. It was just part of the deal.
I think that's part of the issue. I mean, and I'm going by, and I don't know if it's that, because we have had persistent winds.
Yes, you can't
But
stop.
I go by and I see it.
Well, according to staff, we have a 2-mile radius, I believe, that we're responsible for in terms of picking up trash. But Dennis had some interesting observations about how the transfer station will help us. You want to come talk a little bit about you and Curtis about the transfer station and how that might help with this issue?
Yeah, once the transfer station is built, on those windy days, we'll just dump our trash in there.
Okay.
And then, doors are closed. And then we'll have a big truck where we can just put all that trash in there, calm day. We just take it into the cell. Or we'll take it to Amarillo when we're past we have a 20-ton per day limit. And we usually start getting past that limit around August. So then we start running our trash trucks, costing us a lot of fuel. And so with the transfer station, I think that's going to eliminate a lot of that. I'm pretty sure 90.
It's been a problem.
Yeah, it's always been a problem, but the transfer station will really help us.
Where are we on our transfer station? Is this?
They're just probably at 20% because we had to wait on metal, we wait on the beams and stuff like that because of.
Is there anything that we can do between time to maybe accommodate a little more of that trash
If it
removal?
rained, it would eliminate a lot of that. It's kind of hard to pack dry dirt.
Is there any way we
I'm
can,
not saying this.
any way we could not dump at 50-mile-an-hour days?
Yeah, we have, and Curtis has done that this last few weeks. He's stopped the trash trucks.
Okay.
Stopped them and then he'll take them out there at 7 o'clock in the morning before stuff. So, we
In town, they're doing the same thing.
have done that.
It's hard to not do it.
A good example is tomorrow the winds are supposed to kick up, but a little bit later in the day. And so Curtis, they've got their people coming in. Do you tell me 6 o'clock? 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock in the morning to try and get pickups done before the wind picks up.
Okay.
And so, and we'll be very thoughtful about making sure we pick up trash and we will do what we can. But I think that Dennis is right. The transfer station is really going to help manage it with the wind.
Okay.
And the bent dumpster lids, I know is part of the windstorms, because when they come back down, the wind's catching them, they're hitting, and it bends the lids. I mean, I drove the truck for a year
I saw them out with a
So now
crowbar
show me
And-
what
today,
happens.
trying to get them open.
The wind catches those when it's coming back down, the dumpers
Okay.
come back down,
Oh, okay.
it picks it up, and the lids come in, they shove down inside and it'll bend them. And it's just the wind that does it. You have to just go back and fix them. That's all we could do years ago. And I know that's what they still do.
And in landfill is open on Saturdays, 9 to 1. It's been like that for centuries.
I had the question and I
Yeah.
wasn't sure of the hours.
It's 9 to 1.
Folks wanted to be coming out, so we are open
Yes.
on Saturday mornings, but I don't think that it's greatly known, and I'm not sure where it's posted.
I did have a question that came to me about that, and it just is, so it kind of fits in, ties into this. But where were we on fees? Did we approve, like, because I've had a lot of questions about that, about going out and dumping in the city landfill, and they basically what was presented to me was, you want us to not stack this in our alley and you want us to take this to your city dump, but now we're getting charged per weight.
Is it still where it used to be? You had a 500 pounds
We
free,
have 500 pounds a month.
500 pounds a month fee.
I paid out there.
Change, I didn't know that.
I think
No,
it's
no, either.
it's posted on the website.
Mhm.
Doesn't cover all of the fees further down. But it's accessible. It shows you.
I think that's what the concern was, is that
They used
they
to
lost
let
a
you take
free.
some out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's
Don't
not,
let you do
and
that. Which is why you guys are picking it up in the alley.
Yeah.
the approval rate has been, is it 3 to 5 years now that when that went through council?
I think
When we-
Might have been, yeah.
Again?
Might have been.
Is when, about 3 years ago is when that came up. And that was the thing is looking at it on relationship to if they were actually charging that thing. So I think it was like, but the question I did have is, do y'all have a cover requirement time-wise to put down dirt? Or is it just when you get through packing, you cover it out at the landfill?
No, it's just, however Curtis, you're more familiar.
We get the trash down and packed. At the end of the day, we go back with 6 inches of cover.
Okay, so the cover, you can't, it's not really feasible. And I understand it wouldn't be feasible to start covering it up earlier.
Right.
Because then you got to cover it up again and you're filling up the hole with dirt, right?
We used to, we'd get one in and it's a windy day. We used to go over and grab and put some on it.
Okay, yeah, that-
Back in the day.
When the wind starts getting up, the trash trucks, they dump, and then we just pile just gobs of dirt on top of it, to keep a lot of paper from blowing.
Spread it tomorrow.
Yeah, but
For a calm day to spread.
it's y'all, it's a city guideline or your discretion.
Well, it's actually in a permit, TCQ.
Sir?
TCQ regulates how we do that.
Yeah.
All in a permit. It's,
I just didn't think you had to wait a certain time or some areas, I think, you
no, not that.
down real quick or something like that. So it's cool.
And
It's a battle.
We started talking about the fee structure.
Yeah.
Is there something that you wanted us, did you want us to look at? You want us to bring it? You want us to?
I would, just because it's
comparison?
been presented several times to me. That's probably one of the number one things that we even used to have a free trash day, like, maybe once a month there was whatever. So I didn't know if we still have offered that. But
One Saturday and they have one this next Saturday.
we had it this past Saturday. It's always in April. It's spring cleanup.
so maybe we're just not offering a community
We're not-
calendar
we're not
or
letting
something.
people
And I know
know.
we're gonna have some remedy to
Comes on
that
your
with the
water bill.
website.
It's printed on your water. bill.
I don't-
No, it's I put it in the paper and then I gave Jesse in the radio. Jesse has been mentioning it.
Okay.
This past Saturday, we were open from 8 to 5. We had 8 loads,
I know.
8 customers.
I subscribe to the paper too, and I don't open that either.
So
Shame on me.
our next free day is the 23rd. And that's the only time we've always done it was in April.
Do we even do like maybe social media? There's a lot more people that would maybe pay
Yeah.
attention to there. You do?
Wendy does.
Wendy put that in there.
Put it all on there.
Myself or Andrew, but it's for me
Okay.
and Andrew that.
I just wanted to
Social
reach
media.
every avenue. So I'm, when they ask me a question, if I'm not the one viewing it, at least I can say, yes, it's there, go look for it.
I refer them to the city manager.
In relationship to what I think one of you guys said earlier, way back, that free 500 pounds had to go away to help support the transfer station, correct?
Oh,
Wasn't that the consideration that I was told?
I don't know
I'm gonna
what,
hurt that wording.
Well, I understand.
Can we go back to it?
I'm thinking that would be up to the city.
Back to? Show your water bill and get 500 pounds free a month?
that'd be up to,
Residential waste or all waste?
Or just
Residential.
Residential waste.
So
Debris or
Debris,
yeah.
debris.
but not contract.
No contract, no, all
I
contract.
don't think we ever had.
Yeah, it goes to your residence.
Mhm.
And we just, that just, when I worked out, you just showed your water bill. And they wrote, there's a big bill of papers you go through there and look through and see if they've already been there that month and you just check them. off. And if they go back the next time, you check them off the next month.
Well, I think it's great about the transfer station,
Yeah,
and that's going to help tremendously.
oh, yeah,
Yes.
it will.
that'll give some answer to this individual community resident.
What we can do now that we're not already doing.
Yeah,
Because we have to document, when we pick up trash against the fence or go that 2 mile radius, it has to be documented. And when we get inspected, they want to see that. They want to see how often we have been going on that 2 mile radius around the landfill. And then,
can I ask, do you have a schedule to that or
no, we don't have a schedule. We just,
just like, oh, there's a windstorm?
We just-
It's nice the next day.
maybe inside,
I mean, I,
but to the 2 mile radius is probably once a month, maybe, but unless, like the storm, the winds we've been having, we'll get out there as fast as we can to get a take.
and my response to this too was that, well, you can only do so much with 2 or 3 men. And and I hate that's the way it is, but it's kind of that way. It's kind of universal throughout.
Yeah, and if they have another solution.
Yeah, I would.
You can't build a fence high enough.
Yeah.
Right.
Really cool.
You cannot. It just circulates right over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Watched it do it.
And because we've not operated a transfer station before, the guys are going over to Borger tomorrow.
Yeah.
To look at their operations, make sure that we'll have policies in place, procedures in place that need to be there. So that we can make sure we follow our permits.
Because we'll have to have a SOP for TCQ with the transfer station. So we'll have 2 different SOPs or landfill and one for the transfer station. And I've got a template that I'm gonna kind of copy off and kind of forward it to where it will benefit us or help us.
Yeah, right.
So. And we are looking at, Curtis got a hold of Amarillo and visited with them about cover on a customer coming out. If they don't have it covered, we can turn them
Yes.
back. Or we can charge them,
Debris lost on the highway.
And that,
charge them a fee. So in case they did drop something, we can go. So that is one thing we gotta get in. It may be an ordinance that you all had to pass. So
yeah, that's one of the items that staff was talking about when I was developing that 3-year plan. I think it's in there. We need to do that.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for what you guys are doing.
Thank you.
If this wind's tough and you guys are doing a good job.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. No, and I don't think they were fussy about it. They were just.
Yeah, well, I understand.
Department heads got any further comments?
Like I said, we have one more free day, the 23rd. And May 7th, if we can get the fish, we'll be having our fishing derby.
Good.
But where we get it from in Colorado, for some reason, they're not letting them bring the fish across state lines.
Yeah, we can't get the fish.
So we're looking at somebody in New Mexico and
Did we cross off the people in Missouri?
I think we did too.
Okay, because they're more expensive. Okay.
So Gilbert was trying to get a hold of the guy in somewhere in New Mexico for that because that's just 3 weeks away.
Yeah.
Well, there's a
There's
place
still
in
fishing
Lubbock too that does that as well.
In Lubbock?
And there's another place called.
Do they do trout? I think.
Stockmouth Pond. I don't know if they do trout or not.
Because I think that's a hybrid deal.
Yeah.
I know 2 times a year we get Texas Wildlife brings us. It's already on schedule, but we're talking about trout that we want.
That's yours.
Fishing derby.
Taggers.
You know, as a stock for that. I was
Oh,
thought,
yeah,
man, there's some big
no.
trout in the bottom.
And they'll
of that
stock it like
pond.
a couple days and then they don't bite for a few days. But when they're ready to, they will
But
go
they're
hungry.
hungry.
They're hungry.
Eloy, what's your numbers now as far as officers?
Right now I have 2 officers for every shift, so 8 patrol officers and I have 1 detective and then me.
So we're
I'm helping with investigations so that she's not so overwhelmed. I mean, she doesn't stop, but
Yeah.
I don't want her caseload getting any more. Now, if I'm able to find at least one more person, I have somebody to take that other spot in investigations. So we're limping along.
It's an issue.
Yes.
All right.
Our meeting on the 25th, we'll come up with some solutions.
I'll just takes money.
Yeah,
Anything else?
print that for us.
Make the motion. to adjourn.
I didn't take long. All in favor?
You.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Thank you.